If you want to learn how to take paper and just cotton fabric and turn it into a quilt using only your hands, stick around. This is my series on English paper piecing. I posted a few videos about my favorite hobby that I've been doing for almost a decade now, and this is the first episode that I'm going to make into a series of the supplies that you need, how to get going, all of that good stuff. So welcome to episode 1, how to begin English paper piecing. English paper piecing is a method that allows you to take cardstock. You can actually use paper that's flimsier than this. Long time ago, they actually used newspaper, which we all know is very thin, to serve as their paper, but it allows you to use paper to stabilize fabric that you then hand sew and then can join together pieces of it and make a large quilt. Here's the supply list of what you need in order to get started. I'm going to break it into things you absolutely have to have and then things I would recommend. So the first thing is cardstock, cotton fabric, scissors. You're going to need thread. I use polyester thread. It is a lot stronger. I highly recommend. And then you're going to need straw needles. Straw needles are needles that are significantly thinner, and that allows you to have a lot of flexibility in them. This is the ones that I use. I use a size 11 straw needle. I purchased these off Amazon. Just so you can kind of see, these are curved. They don't come this way. This is because I've worked with it so much, but the fact that it is able to curve means that it saves my fingers from being forced to hold a needle that's not going to give me any give and is ultimately going to cause a lot of pain in my fingertips. So these are going to save you from a lot of pain. Do not think, oh, I'll just use a regular needle, no big deal. You'll find out soon that the reason we use these is to save these. Glue that I use is just plain old Elmer's disappearing glue. And when we begin, we start by taking our cardstock. I literally just do a little dab on the back and stick it on the paper. I have had this glue on ones that have been sewn for 6 or so years and just pulls right off. It does stay on well enough that you can sew with it, like it's not moving or anything when I'm sewing, but it is easy to remove. So I highly recommend spending your money on something like this that's like $1 rather than buying any kind of specialty sewing glue. These work just fine. Then you're going to need something to keep your stuff in. So I carry this with me. This is in my bag that I always have with me. This is just a pencil carrier. So in the top, I do like that it has a zipper. The ones that I sewed, I can put up here. It has just this little, I mean, like that's not even needed, but it works fine for what I need it for. The best thing about this is that it's deep, and so that allows me to bring a whole thing of thread with me. I'm not having to like try to bring small ones. So I always have this with me. But when I'm at home, I want to have something that's a little bit bigger. So this is what I use at home. This is just a traditional sewing box. It has a removable tray. And then underneath the tray, I keep like my supplies, my bigger bags of supplies. Another thing that I personally have is I have a light that goes around my neck that is flexible, and I can really like target it towards what I'm working on. That works really well for being in a dark room. Like if you're wanting to watch a movie in the evening, you can't have the light on. You do need quite a bit of light in order to do this hobby. So that allows me to just kind of keep it right here to myself and not bother anyone else and still have good vision. That is the only other supply that I've used. I've done this hobby for almost a decade now. This is all I've bought. The last thing that I'm going to recommend, this is an over the top thing. You do not have to do this, truly. Hear me when I say this. You do not have to spend money on something like this to do this hobby. This hobby has a very low cost of entry to it. I just like to find ways to make things more expensive, apparently. But if you've never heard of a jelly roll, this is a jelly roll. A jelly roll is a line of fabric that has been cut into 2.5 inches. So I have 2.5 inches of they're in strips, of every fabric that was in this fabric line. So this fabric line is actually called Little Ruby by Bonnie and Camille. It's a Moda fabric. And this is what my quilt is made out of. Whenever I started my quilt in 2017, I really wanted to make sure that whenever it was all done, it would coordinate well together. So I chose to go with a jelly roll. At that time, I bought 2 of these and they were like $45 a piece. I went ahead and bought 2 because I didn't know how much I would need to make a pretty good sized quilt. And I knew that it would take me years and years and years, and I didn't want to run out. I never ended up using this one. So I still have this one, My quilt, which made between a twin and a queen size, is one of these and then one of probably about the same size of this of white fabric. And I outlined all of my flowers in white because I really wanted the colors to pop and them to stand out on their own. I do think one day I will find a purpose for this, so I'm still holding on to it. But please know, this makes it easier. It's really nice. It's helpful to be able to have a fabric line that is already really well coordinated for you, especially when you're putting so much time and effort into a project. But you don't have to do something like this. These being cut into strips honestly was a hindrance for me because had I not used 2.5 inch wide fabric, I could have used bigger hexagon and then my quilt would have worked up a lot faster. It would not have taken me as long to make it. So know that that's an option too. I'm using 1 inch hexagons. You don't have to. If you just go online and type in English paper piecing hexagon, you can find tons of free printouts where you can just print them off and cut them out yourself so that you have your hexagons on your cardstock. If you do that, please make sure that you measure the square on the printout. Any pattern you print is going to have a little 1 inch square on it. It is so crucial that you measure that every time you print a new sheet. So that way you know when you cut those, they are printed to the correct size and scale. It would be awful if you did not do that and you got halfway through your quilt and you start realizing some of these hexies don't match up anymore, or why does my thing look wonky? That will happen. So please know, if you print them offline, you have to check the 1 inch square. Save yourself the biggest headache of your life, please. But that is a list of supplies that you need. And if you follow me to the next video, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and start showing you how to actually sew these things together. So I'll see you there.